We're just going to talk about some simple equation solving today and how to make a number sentence be true. The number sentence that I have on here is f take away 3 equals 17. What we're trying to figure out is what can I put in for this unknown number to make the number sentence true or to make the number sentence actually work out. So we just have to figure out what number goes in there. This one's pretty simple. I think most people can probably figure it out. If instead of using f, I put 20 in here, 20 minus 3 is 17. If whatever you put in here makes this work, then you know that this makes the number sentence true. Now, if you can't figure out that it's 20, there's some really easy things to do. Probably the easiest thing is working with the inverse operations that we've talked about before. We know that this is subtract 3. Inverse operation would be add 3. So if I add 3 to this side right here, I'm going to get 20. Now if we try that number in for our f, again 20 minus 3 is 17, so we know that that works. If you had a situation where they gave you a number and the question was, does this solve the equation, or does this make the solution true? Maybe they want you to use, or something says f equals 30, okay? And they want to know, is this true? If I put 30 in for this, is this true? So if I put 30 in here, 30 minus 3. 30 minus 3 is not 17. So if this doesn't work out, then we know that using 30 makes this number sentence not true. Here I have a new number sentence. This time we have 4x minus 2 equals 18. Now remember back in the last deal that we had here, if we've got a variable right beside a number, that means multiplication. Okay? And remember that can be written a lot of different ways. We could have put the dot in between there. We could have had some parentheses. But how it is just fine, and it's 4 times x minus 2 equals 18. The question is, which one of these numbers does x equal? Is x 3 or is x 5? And to figure this out, we need to put both of these numbers in for x to see which one makes this number sentence true. So we're going to start with 3. If I put 3 in for x, and I'll just write it like this, because those parentheses mean multiplication as well. So 4 times 3 is 12. 12 take away 2 is 10. This number sentence says it's supposed to equal 18. So we know that 3 is not going to work. So I can get rid of all this stuff. Now we need to try the other one and see if it works. So we had 4 times x. Now we're going to see if x is 5. So if I put 5 in for x, now I have 4 times 5, which is 20. 20 minus 2 is 18. That's what it says it's supposed to be, so we know that 5 makes this number sentence true. Pretty wide variety of choices for this one. We're going to see if it's either 2 or 50. And I did this for a specific reason, because this is kind of a common thing that people mess up on here. Our problem is g divided by 5. Remember, any type of slash is going to be divide. G divided by 5 plus 5 equals 15. We have to see, is it going to be 2 or is it going to be 50? So we'll start with 2 first. Okay? I'll put 2 in here. Now, a lot of people want to do 5 times 2 here for whatever reason. I don't know why, because it's divide, but that's what a lot of people start out doing. So if you really think about this problem, 2 divided by 5 isn't even going to be 1 whole. Okay? Think about this as the fraction 2/5. That's less than half. It isn't even going to be 1 whole. So if we have something that isn't even going to be 1 whole plus 5, there's no way that we can get 15. 2/5 plus 5 is just going to be 5 and 2/5. The decimal for 2/5 is 0.4, so it's going to be 5.4. Neither of those is the same thing as 15. So we know that 2 is definitely out. But now we need to see if our other number actually works here. So I'm going to put 50 here. Okay. So now we're responsible for 50 divided by 5. 50 divided by 5 is 10. Now we have to do 10 plus 5, and 10 plus 5 does equal 15. If it equals what it says it's supposed to equal, you know that this, what we put in for it, the 50, makes this number sentence true. All right, last one I think we're going to do, we have, and I flipped this around this time on purpose because, again, this is the same thing. I just put what it's equal to on the opposite side. Okay, so it's not anything different. We're still trying to make this number sentence equal 13. It's just flipped around. So we've got 7 or 11 that we need to try for y. So let's start out with the first one. Let's start with 7. Instead of y, we're going to pretend that y is 7. So now, whatever this adds up to should be 13 if this makes the number sentence true. 7 and 5 is 12, 13, 14. 14 does not equal the 13 that we need, so we know that this 7 is out. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here. With this 11 right here, I already knew that 7 made it too big, and all we're doing is adding. So if I put that 11 in there, that's still going to be bigger than 13. So that one's out too. So now we need to figure out what actually does work. You've got a lot of different options. One is you can just try things in here, basically guess and check. And there's, guess and check, there's nothing wrong with doing that. So I could try a lot of numbers in here. Maybe I want to try a 5 in here. Okay, 5 and 5 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 does not equal 13. But I know that I need one more. So maybe I take this 5 and change it to a 6. 6 plus 5 is now 11. Plus 2 is 13. So the 6 would be the correct answer. Another thing you could do, if we put that y back in there, let's start out by adding 5 and 2. Okay? So adding 5 and 2, and I get 7. Now, if you remember back to the first problem where we did some inverse operations, this is plus 7. So if I just come over here and do minus 7 over here, I get 6 for my answer. Now if I just put 6 where the y is, 6 plus 5 plus the 2, or 6 plus 7, is 13. That makes the number sentence true, so we know that that's the number we're going to want for this. One last thing here, the biggest thing that people are probably going to mess up to start with, even though we talked about in the last section, is what this actually is. Make sure that you always remember if the number is right beside the letter, that's multiplication. If the number has a dot, that's multiplication. If the number has some parentheses, that's multiplication. It's all multiplication, and no matter which way you look at this problem, 4 times what equals 40 is basically what we're saying. And if we put a 10 in here to make it 4 times 10, 4 times 10 is 40, so our answer would be x equals 10.